So great. So right now we're live. As I just mentioned to you guys, this is Wednesday One Thing for the people who are watching now, and for the rest of time on our YouTube channels and on our socials. Wednesday One Thing is just an opportunity for us at Clearbank to come together and really learn one cool thing that happened in the previous week as it pertains to e-commerce, as it pertains to technology. And it's just really important that we all sync up and we're all learning and we're all sort of advancing our knowledge. Yeah, so just ground rules for everyone here who's like live here. Obviously, don't swear, don't say anything that would reveal any of our trade secrets because this is going on online. So, yeah, as I said also, I'm not trying to do these Wednesday One Things because I think everyone should have their own voice, everyone should get a chance to present. So today, Hamza is actually going to present a story that he found. It's a really exciting story that I want him to present and talk to you all about. But we're going to do two today, actually. It's not really an article, but this was a really awesome thing that happened last night on Twitter. So for all you guys who aren't using social selling or aren't on Twitter right now, I just want to read to you this Twitter rant that one of our customers actually posted on Twitter. It's really funny. So at Erin Burry, she's the former, I think, president of an ad agency called 88 Creative, and now she runs her own company called Willful. And she said, "Rant time. I'm sick of banks, venture debt firms, and crown corporations with a mission to fund entrepreneurs talking about how they exist solely to help great ideas get off the ground, but in reality make it nearly impossible to get money until you get it big. I've talked to nearly every venture debt firm, bank, and BDC. I've been told we either need one, a personal guarantee, which means I have to stake my home on my business being successful, despite the fact that we have hundreds of thousands in revenue. Forget being pre-launched. Two, at least $1 million in ARR or $150K per month in revenue to even get $1 in a line of credit or loan that isn't personally guaranteed, or $1 in venture debt. Most founders need money to get them to that stage, so it's a catch-22. I know there are other funding sources, grants, equity investments, funding through revenue, etc. That's not the point. We're at a point where we're fortunate to have an investor interest in solid revenue. What annoys me is the promise versus the reality. It's a sham. The truth is, you can only get money from the banks, BDC, etc. once you make it. How you get there is up to you. And by the time you do it, chances are you may not even need them. I get that these institutions are risk averse. They can't hand money over to every entrepreneur who asks. But the thresholds that even qualify are so beyond what should be considered a proven out concept. We've used at Clearbank to fund our marketing, and it's no surprise they're disrupting the funding model. I hope other institutions find a way to similarly invest in early stage founders. So I thought that was just a really great way to just like kick off the day. And again, remind us all like really why we're here. It's for people like Erin and at Willful. They're creating something really interesting. You should really check it out. But yeah, it's amazing to see people actually talking about us and people are really understanding what we do. So take that into your Wednesday, and now Hamza is going to present his story. So, thank you.
Let's go. That's Mark. All right, guys. So my Wednesday One Thing is about Amazon Prime Day. Does everyone know what a Prime Day is? Did anyone not buy something on Prime Day? Okay. No, yeah, me too. Sure. But I know one person who discovered what Amazon Prime Day was this year. That was my mom. She took my Prime membership and then bought a bunch of shit that we don't need or will ever use, like photo frames. You know, no one actually takes photos anymore. They put them up on Instagram. But yeah, I have a bunch from Amazon this year. But the interesting thing about Prime Day wasn't just that it was about Amazon. It was more about an event in e-commerce. And this is something that's been happening year on in. So a little bit about Prime Day. It began in 2015 as a way to celebrate Amazon's 20th anniversary. And 5 Prime Days later, it's kind of stuck. In a way, it's considered the Seinfeld of e-commerce, in that it's a day about nothing. It was invented pretty much on the go, and Amazon unilaterally invented a shopping holiday, all of their own accord, in the middle of summer. So Amazon made Prime Day more personal this year than any year before. So if at any point in the year you had looked up mattresses, then you would on Prime Day find that Amazon was taking a little bit out of Casper's sales by pushing some nice mattress deals. If you looked at speaker phones in the last month, you got some nice speakers in your, in your recommended list. The individualization of Prime Day was greater this year than it has been in any previous year. And that goes a lot to say about how Amazon utilizes data to individualize the consumer experience and how that affects e-commerce everywhere. So Amazon may have created its own summer holiday, but it's no longer the sole winner of Prime Day. Online sales for other e-commerce companies also increase. And this, I think, was a really interesting phenomenon that's worth explaining or worth at least thinking about, because it was Amazon that invented the holiday, that's throwing out these great deals, but sales for its competitors, for Best Buy, for Target, for Walmart, but also for niche e-commerce firms, those making $5 million a year or less, even they saw sales of like 35% grow up. So let me throw some statistics out there, and then we can discuss why we think this is happening. So overall, Prime Day sales equals $7 billion in sales, $3 billion up from last year. So that's like a 75% increase. This year, Prime Day was 48 hours as opposed to 36 hours. So like a third longer than last year. And so you might think, okay, sure, there's more money being spent because there's more time that people are spending on Prime Day. But the average hourly spend was also up 35% from last year. And I think that's a really interesting statistic. Prime members also bought more than $2 billion worth of products from small and mid-sized independent companies on the Amazon platform. So it wasn't just Amazon's choice, Amazon's own products that were being shipped off. And according to Adobe Analytics, companies with 1 billion or more in revenue experienced a 64% spike in e-commerce compared to a typical Monday. And companies making under 5 million in annual revenue saw a 30% increase on day one of Prime Day. E-commerce spending in America topped $2 billion on a single day. And this is the third time this has ever happened outside the holiday season. So it happened on Memorial Day, it happened on Labor Day this year, I think. And this is the third time ever that we've seen sales on one day go over $2 billion. So I guess the question is, why has this happened? Why has Amazon's Prime Day affected other e-commerce companies so much? Anyone have any ideas? What do you guys think have happened? Mario? Oh, Tom.
I have no idea.
Give me anything. Part of it could be they're looking at competing prices on
Yeah.
these platforms and on the website.
Sure. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, consumers go online and they want to compare prices. Yeah.
Like you said before, they're collecting data from like personal accounts,
Mhm.
like pitch products
Yeah.
specifically to the person.
Yeah. Smart. Yes.
Why did your mom go for the first time?
I thought you were going with an insult there.
Like,
Yeah. So she got like photo frames and shit, right? So she just went on Amazon, looked them up for no reason, and
Yeah.
just got them.
that's
And
the reason.
Yeah, that's it. There we are.
Yeah.
And with photo frames that no one actually uses.
Another
So,
thing too that
yeah,
can be interesting
so-
is like when you're shopping on Amazon, you're collecting all the cookies going through, and that increases the ability for other e-commerce companies to retarget and like really dial down on their SEO.
Yeah,
Do a
exactly.
good job even past Prime Day.
Mm-hmm. No. Well, yeah, you guys are pretty spot on. People are going online. They're already in buying mood. You go on Amazon, you compare prices with a bunch of other websites. It could be Walmart. It could be something way more niche. It could be like some ad for some clothing brand you saw on Instagram, and now you think is a good time to check it out. And online traffic on the whole increased. So at Prime Day saw a huge upsurge in online traffic across all companies, not just Amazon. So even though Amazon was the star of the show on Prime Day, the event drives a lot of incremental shopping demand that competing retailers have a chance to partake in. And that's why we see almost all of them push their own summer shopping events on or around Prime Day. So this is my favorite part, which is about predictions. So what can we learn from what happened at what happened last week, and see how that might apply to 2020, 2021, and Prime Days going forward. So the first lesson we learned is the importance of first-party data that Kieran also brought up. So Amazon likely gained millions of new Prime customers in just 2 days, and their purchasing and their patronage won't just bring money to Amazon. It will also bring new data and diversify their search database. And through machine learning, the company can take that data and make it more relevant and offer timely offers to customers. So does anyone know what Amazon Business Analytics is? Ever heard of it? Okay. So Amazon used to have this thing called Amazon Retail Analytics, which you had to pay $30,000 a year for. It basically gave you access to the search database that Amazon collects to show business owners, how people, show what consumer behavior is looking like. That used to cost $30,000 a year. In Feb 2019, Amazon quietly launched the ABA, which is just like the ARA, but free. So now if you're an official brand owner on Amazon, you can access all their search history. You can type in the keywords and find out what people are looking for, pretty much for paying no money. And so what that does is it allows the first-party data, the first point of data collected when you type in sneakers, blue, whatever on Amazon, and that can be shared with a bunch of other companies also, in the business of making shoes. So that's the first sort of thing that we, took on for Prime Day. And I think Prime Day can become, even if it doesn't become like the new Boxing Day or whatever, or Black Friday, it could still become the main day for search database diversification in the future. So this is the day where every e-commerce company learns what they're going to do for the rest of the year with regards to what people are looking for. The other thing that might come out of Amazon's Prime Day would be push notifications. So we might see something like a granular preference center that customers, allows customers to dictate whether they'd like to get messages via email or text, or basically get push notifications showing, hey, these deals showed up for these products that you've been looking at for the last couple of months. And I think it's a really interesting space to getting into, because what we might also see would be the commercialization of push notifications. So you might very well see companies trying to buy ad space on push notifications with different applications. And you might think, well, who the hell wants to see a push notification from a different retailer? But I mean, you never know. The more granular we get, the more precise and accurate that we can get to the people, that the business owners can get to the people they're trying to target. It does stand to reason that maybe on Prime Day, on Cyber Monday, on days when e-commerce sales are booming, we might see something like push notifications and different companies partaking in push notifications. This one article I read even went as far as to say that they think that mass advertisements might be declining in relevance as push notifications incline in their frequency. I think that might be pushing it a little bit, because like Facebook still had like 10 times as many visitors on Prime Day that Amazon did. So that says something. So Facebook's probably still really important, but that's definitely a space that's developing. The other thing we're seeing is that Prime Day may be surrounded by other competing days around the same time. So several of Amazon's retail rivals like Walmart, Target, eBay, they're holding their own sale promotions alongside Prime Day. eBay even did this thing called Crash Sale, which is basically they kind of mocked Amazon, because in 2018, Amazon's site, Amazon crashed during Prime Day. And so they had a crash sale, which was that if Amazon's website crashed, eBay would give everyone a discount. It didn't happen. Amazon handled it pretty well. It barely even slowed down. So that was pretty amazing on Amazon's part. But importantly for us, an additional 250 online retailers mimicked Amazon with their own sales in this past week. So what we're seeing is that across the board, we're seeing an uptick in e-commerce, in business, in revenues for pretty much everyone. And we're also now correspondingly seeing an uptick in the discounts and good deals that are being offered across the board, even from niche retailers. Okay, so I don't know how to say this with the camera on me, because I was going to reveal some stuff about ClearBank, but I'll try to not say that in the last part of what I'm presenting, which is how this really applies specifically to us. So summer was never really known to be kind of a peak sales season. This is not a secret, but like a huge proportion of our revenue really comes in the last quarter. It comes, during the retail seasons, the peak seasons of people going on shopping, getting gifts and stuff. And so that's always been about the end of the year. And we have, but one main thing might happen, which is that e-commerce companies from the 10,000 to 10 million range may well decide to increase online ad spend and inventory purchases in the weeks leading up to Prime Day. So we might not see as big of a bump as we see on Black Friday or on Cyber Monday, on Black Friday or Christmas, but it could be comparable to Cyber Monday, or if not even bigger. And it's going to change many e-commerce companies' summer strategy. So e-commerce companies will want to increase ad spend. This will drive greater demand for online ads in the summertime, increasing ad prices. And so that opens up avenues for companies, e-commerce companies, trying to raise more growth capital in order to fund their online ad spend, in order to fund their inventory purchases when there's a random, sudden, and short-term uptick in the summer, which is not really surrounded by a corresponding sales season for at least a couple of months on either side. So for next year, we can adapt this approach into how we approach our MQLs, and specifically how we approach our outbound cold calls. So, when I was reading this, I really thought this affects how the analysts work, because, we can make something like this part of our marketing approach. We can make something like this part of our pitch next year in June, in May, maybe even in July, by saying, hey, we know Prime Day is coming up. We know all the e-commerce traffic's going to shoot up, and you want to make sure you get as much of it as possible. sure, you're not going to get 90, Amazon's going to take 90% of it no matter what happens, but you're still going to get something or the other out of it. And that's one way I think BDRs can really approach Prime Day. The other thing I thought Prime Day would really affect us with would be diligence. I don't know if I can say this on camera. I'll keep it very brief. Basically, when I've sat through diligence right along, I know when we're making our revenue predictions, when we're seeing how favorably a business owner compares to the offer we're making, we do sort of adjust for their summer sales figures. We understand that you're not going to have the same growth this summer that you will in December and September and in November. But I think as Prime Day becomes more of a thing, we might start readjusting for Prime Day in our revenue predictions, and that this might be something that Kevin and everyone sort of take into account when they're seeing if maybe 2 years down the line, if a company hasn't had any growth in July, then maybe they just had really bad planning for at least a couple of years and missed out on Prime Day in some way or the other. And for AMs, I mean, that's like the obvious one. It's like it's top up season. I think it sort of changes the way we approach our clients and our prospects, and how we're able to explain to them how ClearBank can help, how our capital is good for them. And it's a lot easier to explain that when the situation is obvious. It's a lot easier to explain that in sales season in December or November. And as e-commerce experiences a spike in mid-July, we might see a better opportunity to explain that to them then as well. That's about it. Thank you. Woo!
So we can stop some of that. Yeah, that was awesome.